The Los Angeles Dodgers rescinded their initial invitation to the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence following pushback from fans. Not long after, the team not only re-invited the group, it also offered an apology. The ceremony is scheduled for tonight as part of the game against the San Francisco Giants. And we go now to sports agent Doug Eldridge, founder of DLE Agency and Achilles Public Relations. Doug, great to have you back on. A lot to get to. But first, from a public relations perspective, how do you think the Dodgers handled this situation? And what are the benefits and the cost to inviting and then disinviting, then re-inviting with an apology to a transgender group that mocks the Catholic faith?
If we were scoring this as a baseball game, I would qualify it as an unforced error. This was absolutely self-inflicted by the Dodgers franchise. Regardless of whether you think it's right or wrong, the sheer execution of extending the invitation to a controversial, arguably by design, organization, then rescinding it, then extending it again, it's become a circular firing squad. They're absolutely taking on fire from every direction. If there's a clear loser in this, if you can even categorize it that way, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers and specifically their PR department. I think they'll probably be a house clearing at the end of the season.
Yeah, hey, Doug, curious about this one. If a player wanted to sit out the game tonight, in protest of the decision, would they be allowed to do so? Curious about that, because you're a sport agent, as we know, and you work on these contracts. Would they be allowed to do that?
Well, see, that's a great question. And really what we've seen, going back to last season, 2022, the Tampa Bay Rays refused to wear a Pride Night jersey on principle, but mostly the players stood on the fact that it ran contra to their religious beliefs. This year, beginning in March, we saw the same thing across the NHL. Foreign players said, absolutely not. This does not align with my religious beliefs. I can either support gay rights or be indifferent toward gay rights, but that doesn't mean I have to go all the way over to arguably promoting it through these pride-centric jerseys and stick tape. And so they pushed back, and then NHL one by one acquiesced to the player demands. Now, fast forward to earlier this year, to May, and prior to that, MLB players started to push back as well. Not the least of which was Clayton Kershaw, an absolute first ballot Hall of Famer, who said, this runs absolutely contra to my faith-based beliefs. This has nothing to do with gay rights. This has nothing to do with broader acceptance and inclusion. This has everything to do with the fact that this organization is using religion or quote unquote religion, the Catholic garb, specifically the nuns, to perversely promote their purpose. This is not in line with my beliefs, and I refuse to stand by it. And it created an absolute rock in the pond in terms of the ripple effects across the league. And so now what we're seeing is that MLB quietly sent out a mandate instructing teams to pull the pride jerseys. So don't send the players out on the field with the rainbow flag-oriented jerseys. And all but two franchises, the Dodgers and the San Francisco Giants, have pulled it. And on that same end of the scale, the only team that has never in 20 years done a Pride Night is the Texas Rangers. And so we're seeing on a national scale the pushback, not to gay rights and inclusion, but the messaging. Target has lost, gosh, at this point, $15 billion. Bud Light has lost 25% of their sales, more than $27 billion, and they're no longer the #1 selling beer in the country. It's not the idea of inclusion. It's the idea of the messaging and the way that some people, many people, feel as though it's being forced on them. And the Dodgers and MLB as a whole have to be receptive and really take a closer read on that, or they're going to lose fan share as well.
Doug, we have about a minute left or so, but what do you think the fallout's going to be here for the Dodgers? I mean, we know there's protests taking place, outside the stadium tonight because of what's going on with this group that they're honoring.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Number one, because the news cycle moves so fast, and few people can remember the front page story of Monday of last week, let alone what it's going to look like a week from now. But in those two examples I just gave, right, InBev, which owns Bud Light, as well as Target, we've seen qualifiable, quantifiable evidence of the brand damage. And when we're talking billions of dollars, this is not a short-term brand hit, but rather a long-lasting brand hangover, if you will. And for the Dodgers, I don't know. When you step back and look at the demographics and the psychographics, Los Angeles, I believe, has the highest Catholic population in the country. It also, from an MLB standpoint, has the largest Hispanic population, which are traditionally Catholic by faith. And so I don't know that this was a calculated move. In the context of measure twice, cut once, I don't know that the execution and the ideation of this was really well thought out. And perhaps that's evidenced by the invite, uninvite, invite again. Now they're really losing on all fronts. And I'm sorry for them as an organization, but who I really feel for, frankly, are the players that are put between a rock and a hard place, no pun intended. And they're the ones that have the microphones shoved in their face saying, what do you think about this? Should you do it? Should you not do it? Because they're going to be castigated on either turn. And I think it's unfair to the players. Fans have a choice whether or not to go to the game, whether to watch it. The club obviously made their choice and then unmade it and then made it again. But the players are really getting the short end of the stick on this. And I'm proud of those that stick to their guns and can articulate their message and really align with their beliefs, however they may fall.
Well, Doug, we always appreciate having you on, and thank you so much for weighing in. Thanks again.
Thank you, guys.